In chapter 36, Dobson introduced the idea of a result clause to you using hinna. So you saw that it is possible to use hinna to be both a purpose clause and a result clause as a hinge looking backward and forward to different kind of actions. Result clauses do, however, have their own way of working, and chapter 38 introduces those. First of all, what exactly is a result clause? A result clause is one that in English is going to be characterised by the words so and that. The mouse was so small that I didn't see it. The result of it being small is that I didn't see it. These are often called final clauses as well as result clauses, and they are often marked by that word for so, which in Greek would be some kind of relative like tosutos. Look back at the correlative information that I've made available. They don't have to have one of those though. It could just be, and this is what's more common in the New Testament, that you have two actions, one of which is the cause of the other, but that cause is only expressed using the result structure. I.e., there was an earthquake, the result of the earthquake was that the house fell down. If you do this, you use the word ὥστε and then an infinitive. So your standard way of doing result clause is ὥστε plus an infinitive. Once you have an infinitive, any subject needs to be in the accusative. So you will also find that you get what look like sentences with no nominative in them, no straight verb in them, because you've got an accusative and infinitive construction instead. If you look at TLG, other counters may vary because of the way ὥστε is made up. There are 83 uses of ὥστε. Having a look through some of these, you see some definite patterns. So 15 are in Matthew, which I thought was actually quite a high count of those 83. Look, a great earthquake arose in the sea. ὥστε. And then your infinitive, kaloptesthai. And toploon here is neuter, so you can't tell what case it is, but it is accusative. So that the result was the boat was hidden by the waves. 12:22, kai ethropiusenauton, he healed him. ὥστε, the result was ton korphon in your accusative, the dumb man, lalein kai blepein, two different infinitives this time, spoke and saw. So those are your straightforward ones, and you see those in other authors equally straightforwardly. Mark, kai sunek thesan proi, many were disturbed. So the result was that they no longer went. And here you can see that merketi merde, you negate ὥστε using mer because you're using an infinitive, not an indicative. Mark 3:20, he goes to the house and a great crowd gathers. The result was autus, plural this time, they were not able to eat bread. There aren't so many in Luke. There are only 4 in Luke. I've just given you one. So many people were all brought up together that they fell upon each other. Let me just check. I'll check that. But ὥστε, the result clause, is at least clear. The only one in John is also quite important. John 3:16, for God so loved the world, ὥστε, that he gave his only begotten son. Now here you've actually got an indicative. It is possible to use ὥστε plus an indicative. It doesn't have to be an infinitive, and people are still discussing what the difference is between those two. And then you see a hinna as well, so that clause is immediately spawning another purpose clause. So these can be part of quite complex interplays between cause and effect. And then you start seeing ones where the result is very much a separate sentence. I've given you 2 examples, one from 1 Corinthians and one going back to Mark. The life of Jesus was revealed in the death, in death of a body. The result, ὥστε, was death in us. And here you've got a nominative and an indicative again. So your ὥστε has come after an editorial full stop and has used an indicative. Mark 2:28. Sabbath happened because of man, not man because of the Sabbath. The result is the Lord is the Son of Man and of the Son of Man and of the Sabbath is the Lord. And again here you've got the indicative and a nominative therefore. So you're expecting ὥστε plus an infinitive, which will have an accusative subject. Sometimes you will have ὥστε and indicative, at which point there's now a nominative. And the final bit I've given you here is a little bit of a discussion from some of the textbooks on this idea that result and purpose are actually very closely aligned, and you can't always see exactly what's going on. And Kustenberger, Merkel and Plummer tried to make a theological point out of this, saying another difficulty in differentiating purpose and result infinitives is that they both can use the same constructions. The problem is compounded when it involves divine action, for with the omnipotent and omniscient God who dwells beyond time, his purposes are always realised, so that purpose and result are the same thing. That aside, it's usually going to be fairly obvious what you're looking for. Dobson also introduces in this that you can use hoti, meaning because, and dia, meaning because, to give some kind of cause or reason. Cause or reason even. Hoti is going to use an indicative. Dia is going to use an infinitive. So keep your eyes open for that. Hoti can be quite hard to differentiate because of the number of different things it can do. Hoti can be speech marks. It can be that. It can be because, especially if it's dioti. And it could even be with an accent, an indefinite relative. So hoti you need to think about when you see it, but one of the things worth bearing in mind is this idea that it gives some kind of cause or reason.